What happens when a prince who preaches mental health awareness completely loses his mind on live television? Well, buckle up because what you're about to hear will shock you. Before we dive into this absolutely wild story, make sure you hit that subscribe button and drop a comment below because this is going to be one ride you won't forget. Stephen Colbert was having what seemed like a routine evening. His guest lineup included the usual mix of celebrities promoting their latest projects, but tonight's headliner was Prince Harry, supposedly there to discuss his latest mental health initiative. The Late Show audience was buzzing with excitement as Colbert delivered his opening monologue with his trademark wit. Ladies and gentlemen, our next guest is someone who's been very vocal about mental health awareness, family therapy, and finding inner peace, Colbert announced with a grin. Please welcome Prince Harry. The audience erupted in applause as Harry walked onto the stage, waving and smiling. He looked polished in his dark suit, every inch the royal advocate. But those who knew Harry well might have noticed something off about his demeanor, a certain tightness around his eyes, a forced quality to his smile. "Your Royal Highness, great to have you here," Colbert said as they settled into their chairs. "Please, just Harry," the prince replied, though his voice carried an edge that seemed out of place for someone supposedly promoting wellness. "All right, Harry it is. So tell us about your new mental health campaign. I understand it's focused on helping people cope with public scrutiny?" Harry's jaw tightened almost imperceptibly. "Yes, well, it's about helping people understand that even those in privileged positions face real struggles. The media, the constant judgment, the way people think they know you when they don't know anything." Colbert nodded diplomatically. "That must be challenging. Speaking of media attention, how do you balance advocating for privacy while also maintaining a very public platform?" The question seemed to hit a nerve. Harry's posture stiffened, and his voice grew sharper. "That's exactly the kind of question that shows how people don't understand. We're trying to control our narrative, to tell our truth instead of having lies spread about us. But surely appearing on talk shows is inviting some level of public discussion," Colbert pressed gently, still maintaining his professional demeanor. Harry's eyes flashed. "Are you suggesting we should just stay silent while people destroy our reputation? That we should let the tabloids define who we are?" The audience began to sense the shift in energy. Colbert, ever the professional, tried to steer the conversation back on track. "Not at all. I'm just curious about how you navigate that balance. Many of our viewers face their own challenges with social media criticism and public judgment on a smaller scale." "Smaller scale?" Harry's voice rose slightly. "You think what we go through is just like some person getting trolled on Twitter? Do you have any idea what it's like to have every detail of your life dissected by millions of people? To have your family relationships destroyed by media manipulation?" Colbert's eyebrows raised slightly, but he maintained his composure. "I can't imagine that level of scrutiny, no. But isn't part of mental health advocacy about finding healthy ways to cope with criticism and stress, regardless of the scale?" Harry leaned forward aggressively. "Don't lecture me about mental health, Stephen. I've been through more trauma than you could possibly understand. I've lost my mother, been betrayed by my own family, had my privacy violated in the most intimate ways. So when I talk about mental health, I'm talking from real experience, not some textbook." The studio fell uncomfortably quiet. Even Colbert seemed momentarily taken aback by the intensity of Harry's response. The cameras caught every moment of the prince's increasingly agitated state. "Of course, and I respect that experience," Colbert said carefully. "I think what our audience would appreciate is hearing how you've channeled that pain into helping others." Harry laughed bitterly. "Help others? You want to know how I help others? I tell them the truth about what these institutions really are. I expose the lies, the manipulation, the way they destroy people from the inside out. That's how I help people, by showing them they're not alone in fighting against systems designed to crush them." "That's certainly one approach," Colbert replied, clearly trying to maintain control of the interview. But don't you think there's value in also focusing on healing and moving forward rather than staying focused on past grievances? The question was like lighting a fuse. Harry's face flushed red and his voice became sharp and cutting. Past grievances? You think systematic abuse and emotional manipulation are just grievances to get over? You think watching your wife be driven to the point of wanting to end her life is something you just move on from? The audience was now completely silent, the tension in the room palpable. Colbert realized he was dealing with something far beyond a typical difficult guest situation. Colbert took a deep breath, his years of experience kicking in as he tried to de-escalate what was rapidly becoming a disaster. Harry, I can see this is deeply personal for you, and I respect that pain. Maybe we could talk about the positive steps your foundation is taking. But Harry was beyond reasoning now. He stood up abruptly from his chair, pointing an accusatory finger at Colbert. You know what? I'm sick of this. I'm sick of people like you pretending to care while you sit there in your comfortable little bubble, making jokes about everything. You have no idea what real suffering looks like. The studio audience shifted uncomfortably in their seats. Some people began whispering to each other, while others pulled out their phones, sensing they were witnessing something extraordinary unfold in real time. Colbert remained seated, his voice calm but firm. Harry, I think we should take a breath here. This is live television, and I want to make sure we're having a productive conversation. Productive? Harry's laugh was harsh and bitter. You want productive? Let me tell you what would be productive. Stop pretending the media isn't corrupt. Stop acting like these institutions deserve respect when they destroy lives for profit. Stop sitting there with that smug expression like you're above it all. I'm not trying to be smug, Colbert replied, his professional mask beginning to slip. Slightly. I'm trying to have a respectful conversation with you about mental health, which I thought was why you came here. Harry began pacing behind his chair, his movements erratic and agitated. I came here because I was told this would be a platform to speak truth. Instead, I get the same patronizing questions, the same attempts to make me look unstable. Well, congratulations, you're getting exactly what you wanted. The show's producers were frantically communicating through their headsets in the control room. This was live television, and they were watching a complete meltdown happen in real time. Security personnel moved closer to the stage area, though they remained out of camera view. Colbert stood up now, matching Harry's energy but trying to maintain control. Nobody wants you to look unstable, Harry, but right now you're proving that maybe some of the concerns about your state of mind aren't entirely unfounded. The words hit Harry like a physical blow. His face contorted with rage, and he slammed his hand down on the desk between them. There it is. There's the real Stephen Colbert, not the sympathetic talk show host, but another media vulture feeding off people's pain. You're no different from the rest of them. That's not fair, and you know it, Colbert shot back, his own composure finally cracking. I've been nothing but respectful to you, even as you've turned this interview into a personal attack on me and my show. Harry whirled around to face the audience, his voice rising to nearly a shout. You want to see the real me? This is it. This is what happens when you're pushed to your breaking point by people who claim to support mental health, but really just want to exploit your struggles. For entertainment, members of the audience began looking toward the exits. Some were recording with their phones, while others seemed genuinely concerned for their safety. The energy in the room had shifted from uncomfortable to potentially dangerous. Colbert moved around the desk, trying to position himself between Harry and the audience. Harry, I need you to calm down. There are people here who came to enjoy a show, not to be yelled at or made to feel unsafe. Unsafe? Harry's voice cracked with incredulous laughter. They feel unsafe? What about me? What about living every day knowing that people are watching, judging, waiting for you to break so they can sell the story? What about having your own family abandon you when you need them most? I understand you're in pain, Colbert said, his voice softer now, trying a different approach. But taking it out on innocent people isn't going to heal that pain. It's just going to create more of it. Harry's response was swift and vicious. Don't you dare psychoanalyze me. You're not a therapist, you're a comedian who thinks he's qualified to give life advice. You sit here night after night making fun of people's worst moments, and you want to lecture me about creating pain? The accusation stung, and Colbert's own temper began to flare. That's completely unfair. My job is to provide commentary on public figures and events, not to attack people who are genuinely struggling. Your job is to entertain people at other people's expense, Harry spat. Just like every other media parasite. You're all the same, feeding off human misery and calling it journalism or comedy or whatever helps you sleep at night. Colbert had reached his limit. His voice grew cold and professional. You know what, Harry? I think this interview is over. I've tried to be patient and understanding, but you're clearly not in a state to have a rational conversation. Harry's eyes blazed with fury. Of course you're ending it now. Can't handle the truth? Can't deal with someone who won't play along with your little show? This is exactly what I'm talking about. The moment someone calls out the system, they get silenced. You're not being silenced, Colbert replied firmly. You're being held accountable for your behavior. There's a difference. The words seemed to push Harry over a final edge. His voice became a roar that echoed throughout the studio. Accountable? Harry's voice cracked as he screamed the word. I'll show you accountable. You want to see what years of media abuse does to someone? You want to see the real cost of your precious entertainment industry? With that, Harry grabbed the coffee mug from Colbert's desk and hurled it across the stage. It shattered against the backdrop with a crash that echoed through the stunned studio. Several audience members screamed, and security immediately began moving toward the stage. Colbert's face went white. That's enough! Security! But Harry wasn't finished. He turned back to the audience, his face twisted with rage and something that looked almost like grief. You all came here for a show, right? Well, here's your show. Here's what it looks like when someone finally breaks from all the pressure you people put on us. He swept his arm across Colbert's desk, sending papers, pens, and the remaining props flying. The sound system picked up every crash, every clatter, broadcasting the chaos to millions of viewers watching at home. Harry, stop this right now, Colbert shouted, but his voice was drowned out by Harry's continued ranting. Stop what? Stop telling the truth? Stop showing you what you've all created? Harry's voice was hoarse now from shouting. This is what happens when you push someone past their breaking point. This is what your precious media does to people. 2 security guards reached the stage, but Harry whirled on them with wild eyes. Don't touch me! Don't you dare touch me! I'm still a member of the royal family and I won't be manhandled by hired muscle. One of the guards, clearly experienced in de-escalation, spoke calmly. Sir, we just need you to step away from the desk and calm down. Nobody wants to touch you, but we need to ensure everyone's safety. Harry laughed bitterly. Safety? Where was my safety when the tabloids were printing lies about my wife? Where was my safety when my own family threw me to the wolves? Where was my safety when photographers chased my mother to her death? The mention of his mother seemed to break something in Harry. His rage suddenly collapsed into something that looked almost like despair. He slumped against the desk, but his voice remained loud and accusatory. Colbert, seeing an opening, tried once more. Harry, I know you're hurting, but this isn't the way to heal that hurt. This is just creating more pain for everyone, including yourself. Harry's head snapped up, his eyes blazing again. More pain? You think I care about creating more pain? Pain is all I've known for years. At least now you're all seeing it, instead of pretending it doesn't exist while you profit from it. The show's director was frantically signaling to cut to commercial, but the live nature of the broadcast meant viewers were witnessing every second of the meltdown. Social media was already exploding with clips and reactions. This interview is over, Colbert said firmly, his own voice shaking slightly. "I'm sorry to our studio audience and our viewers at home, but we need to end this now." "Oh, now you want to end it?" Harry snarled. "Not when I was trying to have a real conversation about mental health, but when things get too real for your comfort? This is exactly what I'm talking about. You only care about the sanitized version of suffering." He turned to address the cameras, directly, pointing at the lens with a trembling finger. "You want to know about mental health? This is what it looks like. This is what happens when the system designed to protect you becomes the thing that destroys you." Colbert stepped forward, his voice cutting through Harry's rant. "What you're showing right now isn't mental health advocacy. It's a public breakdown. That's going to hurt your cause more than help it." The words hit Harry like cold water. For a moment his face showed a flicker of uncertainty, as if he was suddenly seeing himself from the outside. But then the anger rushed back, stronger than before. "My cause," he screamed. "My cause is exposing all of you. My cause is showing people what really happens behind your polite smiles and fake sympathy." The security guards moved closer, and this time Harry didn't protest. He seemed to deflate slightly, the adrenaline that had been fueling his outburst beginning to fade, but his voice remained bitter and accusing. "Get me out of here," he said to the guards, but his eyes remained fixed on Colbert. "I hope you're happy, Stephen. I hope this gives you great material for your monologue tomorrow night. Just remember, when you're making jokes about the crazy prince, that you helped create this moment." Colbert shook his head sadly. "I didn't create anything, Harry. I just asked you questions about your own advocacy work. Everything else came from you." Harry's laugh was hollow and broken. "Of course. It's always our fault, isn't it? Never the system. Never the people who profit from our pain. Always the victims who can't handle the pressure you put on them." As the security guards gently but firmly began to escort Harry toward the exit, he called out one final accusation to the stunned studio. "You all wanted authenticity? You wanted to see the real person behind the public image? Well, congratulations. This is what your entertainment industry creates. This is what happens when you treat human beings like content for your consumption." The stage door closed behind Harry with a heavy thud, leaving Colbert standing alone among the wreckage of his set. The studio audience sat in stunned silence, many still recording with their phones. The whole incident had lasted less than 20 minutes, but it felt like hours. Colbert slowly walked back to his position behind the desk, his professional composure gradually returning. He looked directly into the camera, his expression serious and somewhat shaken. "Ladies and gentlemen, I apologize for what you just witnessed. That was not the conversation any of us expected to have tonight." He paused, collecting his thoughts before continuing. "Mental health is a serious issue that deserves thoughtful discussion, not what we just experienced here. If you or someone you know is struggling, please reach out to qualified professionals who can provide real help." The camera lingered on Colbert's face for a moment longer before finally cutting to commercial, but the damage was already done. Within minutes, clips of Harry's meltdown were circulating across every social media platform, with reactions ranging from shock to concern to harsh criticism of the prince's behavior. So there you have it, the complete meltdown of a prince who claimed to champion mental health awareness but couldn't keep his own composure for a simple interview. Make sure to subscribe for more incredible stories like this one, and let me know in the comments, do you think Harry's behavior was justified given his past trauma, or did he cross a line that can't be uncrossed?